I don't think I've ever given a review like this ever before. And oh, just like now, I think I did spot the biggest difference just now. The stay mode that I told you about, trust me, you're gonna love it. So let me summarize it this way. The all-new Palisade Hybrid to CarSceneKorea, I introduced newly released Genesis, Hyundai, and Kia cars. The car I am test driving today is 2026 Hyundai all-new Palisade gasoline model 2.5 turbo to be precise. And it is Hyundai's first time putting in this 2.5 turbo inline-4 engine in this flagship SUV, along with the latest hybrid technology that Hyundai Motor Group has got to offer, known as T-Med. Well, I don't want to confuse you too much with the hybrid, but I have no choice but to bring up that name a lot today because, as you saw from the thumbnail today, it is the comparison of this gasoline model to that of the hybrid. And due to the resources, this video won't necessarily be a direct side-by-side comparison to that of the gasoline, the one I am driving right now, to that of the Palisade Hybrid because I don't have the cars available, but I have been driving all-new Hyundai Palisade Hybrid until this very morning, and I put about 500 kilometers on that car. So my muscle memory is super fresh. Therefore, I want to make all the comparison and give you a back-to-back comparison to this gasoline to that of the hybrid. Well, first of all, let's get started with the fuel consumption and economy, showing you the numbers right now. The official fuel efficiency economy of Palisade Hybrid is 14.1 kilometers per liter mixed. That is together with the city and highway drives. But I could see a huge difference between the city drive and freeway when I properly drove the hybrid car. Using HDA2, which stands for Highway Driving Assist 2, that is the latest tech from Hyundai Motor Group available. Using that HDA2 for the most part, it wasn't difficult at all for me to witness all that suggestive fuel economy. I even saw the number go beyond 15 kilometers per liter at one point. I did also test drive this gasoline model on a long-term and long-distance drives as well, so I will include the real-world fuel economy that I got myself driving cars around. For your information, there are only 2 to 3 cars that I actually met or exceeded the manufacturer's suggested fuel economy, so please do keep that in mind. As far as the hybrid is concerned, the overall average that I've covered with about 300 kilometers, it was a little over 10 kilometers, 10.8 kilometers per liter, I believe. And the reason why you don't see 500 there is because I actually test drove 2 different hybrid Palisades. So I did drive the car nearly about 500 kilometers. If you've been watching my channel, you guys know that I am a big hybrid fan. Doesn't matter which type of the car it is. Number one, well, yes, the fuel economy certainly does have play in it. It's not always about the fuel economy for me, because with the latest hybrid tech that Hyundai Motor Group is offering, it is not just the fuel economy, but the hybrid tech, especially with the motor, is very closely tied together with the RNH, ride and handling. The motor drives and assists with the drivability of the vehicle by contributing to controls of the pitching, which is up and down movement, and even the roll left and right. But there is even more greater technology associated with the latest hybrid tech, the T-Med that I've been telling you about. I have a separate video where I went over all the technologies behind the latest hybrid, so please meet me over there for details. It is something that gasoline models just simply cannot provide due to the physical limitations and constraints. The motor is there to cancel out unnecessary, unwanted movement, especially when you go over speed bumps and potholes, unpaved, uneven roads, you name it. And not just that, RNH actually is a very big word that has a lot of subcategories within. So that T-Med also provides and helps you with controlling the vehicle in terms of the understeer and oversteer. And just so you know, I did put that Palisade Hybrid on corners last night as well. So this type of corners and turns, I actually want to check it out and see for myself. So the response and the sound, the roar, is definitely very different to that of the hybrids. I can feel much louder engine roar compared to the hybrid that I have gotten. And with that little kick alone, I could already pinpoint some of the differences because I did test drive the car hybrid last night and put the car on corners and some poles. I could definitely feel the 8-speed automatic on this Palisade gasoline versus the 6-speed automatic that was on the hybrid. So there are more room for you to play in terms of the transmissions, while this having 8th gears for you to choose from. So there is more frequent upshifts and downshifts, if you will, between your runs. So that 8-speed automatic is something that we are far more used to, especially if you are used to driving ICE cars, because the 8-speed is pretty much standard nowadays for ICE cars, right? Even from the Hyundai Motor Group alone, there is 8-speed wet dual clutch transmission, this 8-speed automatic, and 6-speed automatic is only reserved for hybrids at this point of time. So the 8-speed automatic is also there to aid with the car cruising on freeways in order to yield the best fuel economy possible, right? However, due to the nature being, the transmission tends to be larger, or I should say the 6-speed automatic is smaller than conventional transmissions. Therefore, is something put together with the hybrid motor because a lot of room and space is needed for the hybrid in order to fit the engine, motor, and transmission. And plus, there being the motor with the hybrid, the car is powerful enough to get the vehicle going, as well as constantly charging and using the battery to provide the best fuel economy possible. So that being said, hybrid is actually more powerful and has faster 0 to 100 kilometers per hour time compared to this gasoline model. So including the footage right now, we're using the race box, which is the device used on tracks that can measure to 1/100th of the second. And just looking at the spec sheets alone, we already know which car is faster. But having that louder engine roar with this gasoline Palisade, it kind of gave me the feeling and sensation that the car is somewhere there with the 5 to 6 second figure. But we know the car does around 8 to 9 seconds with that 0 to 100. Again, it's not worst. However, it certainly is not the best, but mark my word here, it is something that I say and share to every single car that falls into this realm. That is, if you have a car that is under 300 horsepower, it is very pleasant for you to drive the car much more smoothly and provide the best ride possible for your family or passengers inside the vehicle. Because the car is that much less powerful and less responsive, I mean, I don't really want to call this less responsive, but it certainly is less powerful, right? There is more room for you to play with in terms of the accelerator, because the same input that you give to the accelerator is divided differently. So there is the same accelerator pedal that you apply, right, on and off. So calculate and divide each sector by the horsepower or the output. Then the math is pretty simple, right? The less powerful the car is, less responsive the car will be. But don't get me wrong, the gasoline is very responsive. The car will move and handle and drive, go to places where you want the car to go due to the nature being. It is just that hybrid having the motor, it is much more prompt and quick. There is almost zero display in terms of getting the car moving from a stall, complete stop. I mean, the car also does it all with the hybrid. If you put it into the adequate drive mode, such as Eco is something that I would recommend the most if you want to give the best ride possible. But Palisade being so much powerful than the gasoline model, I mean, the Palisade Hybrid is about 330 horsepower versus this car being about 285 horsepower, if I recall correctly. You might not think it's much because we live in the era where we get 500 to 600 horsepower cars, but the difference between the gasoline and hybrid model is not such negligible number. It certainly does make and contribute big difference, and I can feel that all to myself. So I think I did talk and cover a lot about the powertrain as far as the engine and transmission responsiveness is concerned, together with the fuel economy, right? So let's move on to the next point, or maybe something different. So there is the ISG on this gasoline model, which is the intelligent stop and go, right? The engine will shut on and off on its own in order to best save the fuel and provide the best output possible, right? So just like now, the car will shut the engine off on and off. And well, when it is off, it's really off. And It just feels like the same as the hybrid, something that I've been sharing indeed. But there is what's called stay mode, which is first introduced with the latest TMAD hybrid system, which is the tech that allows you to draw the energy from the hybrid system only, and you can run the AC, use the electricity, you can use the C-type charging ports, and also V2L, vehicle to load, from the back of your trunk. But do not be confused, it's not as powerful as it is with EVs, because you can run the AC for over 100 hours with an EV such as Ioniq 9. You can draw so much more electricity with the V2L. That is not the numbers we can get with the hybrid just yet, but I found that to be very practical, to be honest. I found myself using that stay mode a lot, especially when I have arrived at my destination, waiting for somebody underground parking lots. You know, the best thing about the EVs were that I could run the AC whenever and wherever I wanted, which was something that I couldn't do with the gasoline models, right? Well, number one, it's against the law here in Korea. You simply cannot have your car running inside underground parking lots. So when you do run the AC, and I had the heater, I had the heated seats, heated steering wheel, and also the ergo motion seat, which I completely forgot on this car. I can't believe that. So when you run those things, I saw the stay mode drop down to about 15 minutes. And that was without using the stay mode upon destination. What that mode does is that the car will charge the battery to its maximum. Not saying that it's going to charge to 100%, but it will charge to the maximum ideal charging status, so you can use the most of the battery upon your destination. I did find myself using that feature quite frequently due to my nature of work. I have a lot of electronic devices running all the time, so I do plug it to the C-type charging ports frequently, and I absolutely love that feature. And the car will never ever use the engine until it drains out all the battery, which still saves about 25% of the entire battery, just so you know. In a nutshell, you can use about 15 minutes of full AC mode that you want to do with, but if you want to charge your electronic devices without running the AC, you can do so for about 30 to 40 minutes. And once again, when you run that stay mode, the car is essentially an EV. The car will not turn the engine on to charge the battery. No, it will simply just shut down after it has used all the batteries. I know the duration is not the longest. It's not even an hour, you might say, but I've used it several times in my daily lives. And that 15-20 minutes of the AC running and relaxing inside the car was more than sufficient. I mean, it was much better than not having it, that is for sure. So if that number and duration kind of let you down after finding out all about the stay mode that Palisade Hybrid had to offer, but I'd like to tell you not to be too disappointed, because I think you will get what you're looking for with that mode. I was very satisfied with that mode. And both of the cars, both gasoline and hybrid, does provide what you see right here, the 100 watts maximum C-type charging ports on all of the first row, the second row, and the third row seats even. There are 2 C-type charging ports on all of each of the aisle, which and where you can fast charge pretty much all of your electronic devices that you can possibly use inside a vehicle. I did charge the MacBook and I saw the output go up to about 60 watts. However, the kicker here is that you have to use the genuine charging cable from Hyundai. It only puts out 100 watts maximum. So there only has to be one charging port being used at a given moment of time. But I did get that 60 watts with my regular C-type charging port cable, and I had other ports also occupied, so there was no problem with that whatsoever. I can certainly live with 60 watts inside a car. And I think I did pretty much mention everything there is in terms of the differences between the gasoline and hybrid now. There is also a side-by-side comparison video that I have shot with the gasoline model to that of the hybrid, so you can check it all out in that video if you're looking for how these two cars differ. But I mean, I'll just give it to you right now. As far as the exterior is concerned, there is zero difference that you can find. There's not even the hybrid badge for the hybrid Palisade. And well, I am talking about Korean market, just so you know. It might be different overseas. It might be different in North America. I don't know how it will be. but that's how it is here in Korea. So there is no difference in terms of the bumpers, designs. You can still get the same wheels on calligraphy trims. Another way of Hyundai delivering where they are headed next. With their gasoline and hybrid, I think, there's no discrimination or differences between these two cars no more, unlike what Hyundai has done about a decade ago with Sonata Hybrid. That Sonata Hybrid actually even had hybrid exclusive tail lamps and badge even. You know, back in the days, manufacturers had and used that blue design on the hybrid badges, right? So none of those, no more blue. It is exactly the same. As far as the interior is concerned, there's a hybrid exclusive button, which is the driver only. And it's not just Palisade, it has been that way with Tucson, Santa Fe, you name it. And of course, if you look at the tachometer, the car having the motor, and there's the information and specs about the hybrid car, there is the hybrid exclusive mode for that. But except for that, there is no difference. You can get 7-seater and 9-seater on both of the cars, same exterior color. Is there really no difference whatsoever between these two cars? I'd like to cover about the NVH, noise, vibration, and harshness. As far as the overall atmosphere and how quiet the car is inside, I mean, when the engine is running, I don't even need to go over about that, right? It's not bothering at all. I am perfectly okay with this engine sound roar coming into the cabin. It's perfectly fine. To be fair, I guess, gasoline also does get ISG like I told you, so when the engine is shut off, it's essentially the same. However, there is that gentle push and movement that you can only get from hybrid and hybrid only. The plus is on that. However, as far as other physical and mechanical items are concerned, such as the dual laminated acoustic glasses on the first row, second row, and the windshield, of course, and the fabrics and material used inside the vehicle, they are exactly the same. Even the wheels and tires are also the same. Using tires from Pirelli that has PNCS, Pirelli Noise Cancellation System, although not greatly different, I do feel the difference in terms of the ride quality. So with the gasoline, it is definitely the good old gasoline petrol cars that we are used to. The way the transmission shifts between the gears and also the RPM rising, going up and down, it is something that you would precisely expect from a flagship SUV of Hyundai, right? The response at a tap of my accelerator, the car will move, the car will stop. It precisely does what it is supposed to be doing. The hybrids is still cozy, however, in a different way. They're different, yet both are very smooth and comfortable. Although not as extreme as I would find from an EV, there is the different weight that I can feel from the hybrid Palisade. And there certainly is the hybrid motor and giving me that gentle push from the start. So let me summarize it this way. The all-new Palisade Hybrid provides best of both worlds from EV and a petrol car. So pushing and moving the vehicle from a complete stop without a hassle like an EV does, but there is an engine which is the main source of the power to provide the performance that you're looking for. Maybe I can sum up the video telling you this instead. The latest all-new Hyundai Palisade Hybrid is more closer to being an EV from the way and how the car moves throughout all realms of the vehicle dynamics. Acceleration, deceleration, braking, and the shifts between the motor, engine, and gears. It is just much more smoother than what we felt from the previous hybrid models that we've been experiencing from Hyundai Motor Group. But come this gasoline, now it's as smooth as the first hybrid cars that we've been getting before the all-new Hyundai Palisade Hybrid came out. So let me put it that way. Maybe that is what I am looking for. If you actually really do feel the differences, there is the weight difference that I can feel to myself. But as far as the ride and overall experience is concerned between gasoline and hybrid, is really marginal, yet different at the same time. Of course, hybrid having the motor and battery aiding the engine versus the gasoline model just having the 2.5 turbo liter engine alone. Both of the cars do get the Preview ECS, Preview Electronically Controlled Suspension, which makes a huge difference, which contributes big time when it comes to the ride and suspension work, because it is the tech that was only limited and offered in Genesis cars. But Hyundai Palisade is the first car to get that tech. If you did check out my gasoline Palisade review test drive, you probably saw how amazed, blown away I was with that preview ECS. So I really think that preview ECS is canceling out and providing the best ride possible, despite the differences of the powertrains that gasoline and hybrid cars are. But I can never omit the different nature of the hybrid to that of the gasoline, right? So you see where I'm going with this? Where I'm getting a little puzzled in terms of the different adjective I am looking for. They're different yet very smooth and comfortable. So that is the reason behind my comment here. I don't think I've ever given a review like this ever before. That's how cozy, comfortable, and amazing suspension work ride is on both of gasoline and hybrid cars. And oh, just like now, I think I did spot the biggest difference just now. The hybrid, I have to give it to hybrid. Hybrid is much more fast and responsive when you need to pick up some speed and merge into lanes, because the gasoline needs to find the sweet spot and also downshift if needed in order to provide all that power and torque. Whereas hybrid, the motor will respond just like that immediately. So it's not just about that. I could actually feel that difference in terms of the horsepower that each of the cars have. So going back, if you like the hybrid experience and the stay mode that I told you about, trust me, you're gonna love it. If you think it's something that you're looking for in cars, you're gonna love it. Trust me, mark my word. Trust me on that. V2L and all. And I'm not so sure about around the world, but there is definitely the hybrid environmental friendly car benefits and merits, such as tax, lowered public parking lot fees here in Korea, the list goes on, and having better fuel economy. It's more environmental friendly, right? So if those are what you're looking for from cars, the Palisade Hybrid is one to get. However, if you do the calculations, the price difference between the gasoline model and the hybrid and the money you'll be spending on your fuel, the gasoline might be the ideal choice for you. So this really boils down to your personal preference, but I can tell you that there is not a huge difference in terms of the ride and handling is concerned, overall sensation is concerned from the gasoline versus hybrid. Again, if you watch the whole video, there clearly is a difference, but both are very similar and alike. So don't forget about that. As far as other tech and features are associated, it comes with 360 view cams and other safety tech related features here and there. So you can easily maneuver through the cities, move back and forth like I am doing right now, so don't worry about it. If you want to know more about them, please refer to my earlier videos. I went over all about these in my previous videos. All right, so that really is it. I mean, I just felt it when I was reversing the car just now. The hybrid actually responds faster when you shift between the different gears in terms of the reverse parking, the drive is concerned. Again, due to the nature being. But these are very marginal, right? So drop in the comment below which one is your pick. And if you have any other questions, I know I haven't really pinpointed on the differences in this video. I will reply and get back to you if you drop any questions in comment section. So that's it for today's video, your #1 source of KTM, Genesis, Hyundai, Kia cars. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. And drop in the comment below and let me know which one you would go with, the gasoline or the hybrid.